we are starting our Learn to Code series today. So before we can get into actually coding, we do need to make sure that our environment is set up properly. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this little mini robot called Karel. This is how I learned to code back when I was in school. Karel can only do a few different things, so it's a pretty good starting point. And, you have a nice little graphical interface, which is kind of cool to see the little thing moving around. I'll just kind of insert a clip here so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I will talk more about Karel and what she can do and not do in the next video when we actually get to coding. But for today, we're going to be focusing on getting the environment set up. So one thing that we need to do, since we're doing something like this where it's, moving, there is some starter code that we need to download. That way we're not actually trying to just do all of this from scratch. We are also going to be making sure that Python is downloaded and running on our computers. And we are going to be downloading Pycharm, which is an IDE that we'll be using, a nice little software tool that we'll be using to actually write the code. So you may have done some of these things already. Maybe you were working on some other Python code or something like that. Or maybe you came here just to get your Python set up and you don't actually care about Karel, whichever it may be. So definitely make sure that you check down below. I do have the chapters feature enabled so that you can skip to the parts that are relevant to you. Additionally, I did go over some of the steps for both Mac and PC. So obviously, even if you do need the full setup, there's still going to be parts that you don't need. So the video is going to be a bit long, but you won't need to actually go through the whole video. One thing to be mindful of is that some of these steps do require downloading and installing things, which does come with wait time. So I would definitely make sure that you are kind of doing this on a day where you have a lot of time, or if you don't have a lot of time, you can always kind of start the process and you can come back and kind of pick up where you left off. So what you'll need to do is to navigate to this website, which is in the description box. So make sure you check there and feel free to pause the video if you need to find time to get the link. And once you're there, you want to go to this green code, easy to find, click on the drop down menu and then click on download zip. Okay, so now my zip file has downloaded. I'm just going to click this so that it'll open in Finder. And I can see that it's automatically unzipped my file for me. If you're on a Windows, you may have to unzip it manually, but you should have WinZip or whatever other zip file you use to be able to extract that. So once you have it extracted, what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a brief overview of these files. So there's this main Karel file folder, which this is the bulk of the actual code that you need that's handling all of the logic to make the little robot move and all those types of things. Then we have a license file, which I'm not going to open, but pretty much most of the time that you have any type of software code that you can find on the internet, there should be a license included. And the reason for that is some code is restricted. Sometimes maybe you can't use it at all. Maybe they don't want anybody using it, or maybe they allow use for educational use, or maybe they allow use for business use. It just depends on who created the code and what they want to allow people to do. This particular code has unrestricted use, so we don't have any type of worries. But if you are downloading code from somewhere else, you definitely want to make sure to check the license and make sure that you're allowed to use it for whatever it is that you're using it for. Then we have a README, which generally just gives an overview of the repository that you downloaded. So this one just says #Stanford Karel Python implementation of Karel for CS106A at Stanford. Then we have a template.py, which we will talk about more later. We have a world editor.py, which pretty much this robot, it lives in these little worlds, which are all here. And then this one file is supposed to enable you to generate more worlds. I have not tried this out, but if you want to play around with it outside of these videos, feel free. And then we have all of the actual worlds here. So I'm just going to go ahead and open one of these just to show you what kind of information is in these files. So what it's telling you is dimension 1, 1. So this is how many rows and how many columns. I forget which order it is, but this particular one is a 1 by 1, so it's square. It's telling me that Karel starts at row 1, column 1, which makes sense because it's only 1 by 1. Where else could Karel possibly be? And Karel is facing east, which on the computer screen basically means looking to the right. So imagine that north is the top, east is the right, etc. And Karel has these things called beepers, which we will talk about more in the next video. But sometimes there can be limits on how many beepers Karel has. So you have to be careful. But this world is saying that she has infinite beepers, so we don't have to worry about Karel running out. So that's nice. So let's go ahead and close that. Okay, so what I'm doing now is downloading Python. This is the Windows version. As you can see, I'm typing Python 3 -- version, and it told me I could run Python 3 without arguments to get it from the store. So that's where we are now. So we're going to go ahead and click get. And no, I don't want to sign in. It's pending. Okay, so it is installed. So there's like a launch pop-up. I'm just going to click that. And okay, cool. So this did open the Python interpreter. So let's just check this out. Let's type 2 + 2 and it printed 4. Okay, cool. So this is working. So let's close this and let's try this. And okay, cool. So now Python is installed. We have Python 3.8.6, which is what we just installed. And so now we are good. Macs generally do come with Python pre-installed. So we do need Python 3. If you have a newer computer like I do, like this is saying starting with Mac 10.15, generally Python 3 should be pre-installed. But if your computer is older, you don't have a Mac OS later than this, then you might only have Python 2. So you would actually want to go through the process of installing Python 3. Of course, I already have it installed and I don't have another Mac computer to go through these steps with, but I will link this in the description box and I will kind of go through the different steps here just to make sure that everything is clear. So this is very detailed. So it's telling you, oh, make sure it's not already installed. It's telling you to open the terminal application. It's telling you where it is. I just open Launchpad and just search for terminal and it comes up. So of course you can type the command Python -- version. So we did this earlier. So we type this and it tells me 2.7.15. Then it's saying, it's pretty similar, but there's this 17. It says a $sign indicates user input. Yeah, so what they're saying here is this $sign, this is what you type, the Python -- version, and then everything after that is the output. So on my computer, it's pretty much the same, except for I have like a very long prompt. But yeah, so I typed the Python -- version, and then this is the output. And then it's saying, oh, it's possible that Python 3 may have already been installed as Python 3. So we can run Python 3. Python 3 -- version, and look, we see Python 3.7.1. So again, as I already said, I already have Python 3 on my computer. So if you do not, these would be the steps that you would follow. So it's telling you, oh, you have to install this. So basically, Homebrew is a very common tool that is used to install packages on macOS. Having Homebrew is definitely beneficial. Even if you already have Python 3, I would actually recommend going ahead and installing, making sure you have Xcode and Homebrew and all of that installed, because you might need it for something else. Here you can just copy paste. Okay, now we can install the latest version of Python 3, which I actually don't have the latest version of Python 3. So I think I'm going to actually go ahead and do this. Brew install Python 3. And now my Homebrew is updating because I have not used it in a while. And this may take some time, so if it does take a while, I'm most likely going to cut the video and kind of come back after it's done, just FYI. Okay, so this is actually interesting because it's telling me Xcode alone is not sufficient. So I guess I actually need to go back, and I actually do need to run some more steps. So we're gonna go back to here. And we're going to run the step that they told me to run. Requires, oh wow, I guess I didn't do any of this. An hour? Oof. Oh. Lies. That's what that was. Straight lies. Okay, so that is installed. So I'm going to click done. And I don't know if this worked. Okay, cool. So it's already done. Okay, so now I'm going to try to do brew install Python 3. Oh, so FYI, in case you weren't aware, you can use the up and down arrows to like go in between commands. So if you already ran a command, you don't have to like go look it up and type it again. You can just go up. So we're going to try to install Python 3 again. I'm skipping the install homebrew because I know that I already have homebrew. It was doing a bunch of stuff, so I know that I don't need to do that again. And it's saying Python is already installed. Okay, so what it's telling me is that I'm already on a Python 3. So if I want to upgrade, I can't use brew install. So I have to type brew upgrade Python at 3.9. So this is one thing that I like about homebrew is that the errors are very helpful. Like it's literally telling me, oh, just do upgrade. Yeah, so now I'm going to run that. So if you're installing this from the first time, like, and you run this command that they told you, it should automatically install the latest version. And yeah, let me go to here. Okay, anyway, we're going to go back here. So yeah, if you don't already have Python 3, you can do this stuff. Trying to upgrade Python is apparently complicated. But we don't really need to. Mine was working just fine with the older version. Shouldn't be a problem. And yeah. So that's pretty much it. It does mention virtual environments and things like that. We don't really need that for what we're doing, but we can go ahead and install it. Oops, wrong thing. So I'm just going to check if I have that. I think I do. Yeah, I do. So I checked brew info pip env, but it's saying, oh no, it's not. It's saying not installed. So I'm going to go ahead and install it because why not? And there's some additional instructions here. In this particular case, none of this really applies to what we're doing right now. So that's pretty much it. So if you were able to get through this, then congratulations, you have Python installed. And you can continue along with the actual coding. Yay! Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do, and FYI, I'm doing this in my virtual machine because I already have Pycharm on my computer. But yeah, so we are going to download Pycharm. So I'm just typing that into search and I go to their website. So Python is an IDE, as it says. An IDE is an integrated development environment. So pretty much it includes a lot of different features that basically make coding a lot easier, helps you better write the code because it helps you with formatting and things like that. It also has capability to run the code. If you're using a different programming language that requires a compiler, that's also built in. There are debuggers built in, a lot of different features. But the main reason why we are going to use it is for formatting, because Python requires the code to be formatted. If the code is not formatted correctly, then it will not run correctly. Not all languages are like that, but you know, Python is, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to download the community version. You guys can also download the same community version, and it says it is downloaded. Okay, so I'm just going to click on run. Also, Pycharm is not strictly necessary, so if you're having any issues downloading this software, or you just decide that you don't want to for whatever reason, you can skip this step, and I will go over an alternative process later on in the video. Okay, so it downloaded. Okay, now this is really small, so I'll try to zoom this in. But yeah, so I'm just going to run the installer. So I go to next. It's going to ask you what folder you want to put it in. I don't really care, so I'm just going to let it use the default. I can create a desktop shortcut, which I'm not going to do because I can create an association. So this is nice if you basically want to open, you want like Python files to automatically open in this. So I'm going to just go ahead and check that. It says update path variable. No, I don't need to launch this automatically. So that's fine. I'm just going to install this. The process on a Mac is not too much different. So I'm not going to go over that separately. Just FYI, it's pretty much the same. Okay, so now that's done. So we're just going to click finish. And I probably should have clicked the run. There was a checkbox to run, but I didn't click it, but it's cool. So now we're going to just open that. Oops. And just make sure this is opening fine. Okay, privacy policy. I've already read this all, but why not? Okay, it's asking me if I want to customize things. I'm just gonna skip remaining and set defaults because I don't care that much. If you have a fresh install of Pycharm, there is some additional setup that you have to go through. So I am going to go ahead and open file or project, and it says it's loading, so I'm trying to see what's gonna come up. Okay, so I see my C drive has come up, and I made that dummy Python file inside the documents folder, which is here. And I can click OK. It's loading a bunch of stuff. And if I expand this, okay, so it's giving me a tip. I'm just gonna check this don't show tips box because I don't want to read the tips. But if you are new, I would definitely recommend looking at some of the tips. It's kind of nice. And somewhere in the settings, you have to set the Python interpreter. Settings on your Mac. If you're doing this, it'll probably be under preferences. It should be under file. There should be preferences. This virtual machine is really slow, by the way, so that's why you see like huge delays. I never remember. Oh yeah, see, here it says under project documents, there's a Python interpreter. And here I see Python interpreter, no interpreter. So if I look at this drop down, there's nothing. I can click on show all. And it's saying nothing to show, so I'm going to click this plus button. And here it's showing me C, users, app data, local. It's giving me the option to choose Python 3.9. So I'm going to go ahead and Actually, do I have an existing environment? Oh no, there's nothing. Okay. What's under system interpreter? Yeah, we're actually going to use this. We're going to use system interpreter, and we're going to pick interpreter, this Python 3.9, which is what we installed earlier. And let's click OK. Okay. And let's apply. And OK. Okay, looks like one of the tasks is done, but it's still updating the interpreter. So what we need to do is we actually need to right click on this folder, and we need to mark directory as sources root. Right, so once we have the code downloaded, we have Pycharm downloaded, we have Python itself downloaded, the next step is to actually edit and run the code. So when we open Pycharm, we see these few options. There's create new project, there's open, there's check out from version control. We're just gonna click open. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna navigate to our folder that we created, and I'm gonna click open, and it's created a folder for me. Okay, cool. So I have all my files here. So what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna make a very simple program to start. So as I mentioned earlier, we have this template.py. So this one is just the basic structure. So what we're gonna do is we are going to actually copy this one, and we are going to paste. So if you did not download Pycharm, instead of this, what I'm doing is you can just make a copy of template.py manually in Windows Explorer or Finder or whatever you have, but we're just gonna call it test.py. So in Pycharm, it's always gonna ask you what you want your new file name to be. If you are doing this manually, of course, you can copy it. It'll probably name it _copy, and then you can change the name to whatever you want. I'm gonna check the box, open copy in editor, and hit OK. So before we edit the test.py, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and run I guess we could just run the test.py just for the sake of running things. So if you are in Pycharm, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the run menu, and you can see, here you can see these options are like not selected. Now these options would come up if you had already run something. These default to run the ones that you would already run. But since we haven't run anything yet, we've just opened Pycharm, we're gonna click this other run here, and then it's gonna ask me which I wanna select, and I'm gonna click test. And so we can see that Karel is in this world. It's a 1x1 world, and it can't really do too much. If I click run program, it just says finish running. It doesn't do anything. And that's because here we've just typed pass. Okay, so now we're gonna actually start making updates. So what we're gonna do is, since for this purpose of this test project, all we're gonna do is make Karel basically spin around in a circle. That's all we're gonna do. We're not gonna do anything fancy. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna turn left. Okay, and one thing you'll notice, you can see as I start typing, it starts giving me suggestions. So this is one of the reasons why we want to use an IDE, because it does give you suggestions like this. Otherwise, you have to remember yourself. And yeah, so since we're going in a circle, we're just gonna turn left 4 times, and that's all we're gonna do. So now I'm gonna click this red square to make it stop because I forgot to close it. Okay, so now it's done running. Okay, so then I'm just gonna run this again, and then I'm going to run program, and we can see Karel turned into a circle, and so we are good. So if you're able to get to this stage, then congratulations, you are ready to go, and stay tuned for the next videos in the series. So now if you are doing this in your regular computer, you don't have Pycharm, then what you would want to do is, 1 second, let me go to the folder. So what you would want to do is you would want to go through the folder. So this is in terminal, so you would type cd, and then I have it in documents, and then I forgot what it's called, so I'm just going to type ls, and okay, it's called Karel. So now I'm going to cdk, and then what I can do is I can actually type tab here and it will autocomplete. So CD stands for change directory, by the way, and then LS is like list. So here I can list all the files. Okay, so I need to go into the Stanford Karel master, and then I'm going to list again. Okay, and here I have my test.py. So if I want to run this, I can just type Python 3, and I can type test.py, and it will run. If you are on a Windows machine and you do not have Pycharm installed, you need to figure out how to run your file manually. I'm just going to show you how to do that. So once you open command prompt, you'll see that you're in this like users directory. So the way that you change directories on here is to type chdr, which is change dir, and then I'm just going to type a space, and then what I'm going to do is I'm in my documents folder. I don't have this code installed on this machine, so I'm just going to make like a dummy file, but the process is the same. So then you can just kind of drag the folder into here, and then you can click enter. Okay, so this is done. So now I'm just gonna make a new file because I don't have one right now. So I typed Notepad, which is a software. It's saying it can't find. Do I want to create a new file? Yes, I do. And I'm just gonna write print 2 plus 2. Oh, sorry, disregard that. My keyboard shortcuts are not mapped to my virtual machine. And then I'm just gonna save this and I'm gonna minimize it. So now what I should be able to do is so you can look at it. It's really small, but if you look really closely, you can see that there's like a Python symbol by the file test, and you can see it says type Python file. So that's good. So then I can type in my command prompt, I can type Python 3, and I can type test.py, and you can see it printed 4. So I know that this is how I run. So in your case, you would also run the same command, Python 3 test.py, except in your case, it would open the Karel, and you would have that. All right, so hopefully you were able to get everything set up. If you had any type of issue, I would recommend going back and trying to rewatch the portion that's not working, or you can also comment down below and I can try to kind of help people. I'm not sure how this is gonna work, but it's worth a try. Definitely stay tuned because next week we'll be actually working on the actual assignments. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.